Well, hello there. How are you doing? Welcome to the Brand Artery video series Optimizing Images for the Web. My name is Matt, and in this intro video, we'll look at the image sizes and why it's important to choose the right sizes when you use images online. There are two ways of determining image size. First off, there's the size in pixels, also known as image dimensions. Secondly, there's the size in megabytes, also known as file size. What's the optimal size for images on the web, you might ask? The answer is, it depends. As a rule of thumb, you want your pictures to be large enough in pixels to look sharp, but small enough in megabytes so they won't be a pain to load. Let's start off with image sizes. Here's a small picture. And looky there! This picture is only 320 pixels wide and 214 pixels wide. You can see that up here in the hover, 320 by 214. This cute little baby doesn't have a very large picture. It might not need one. It's a small baby. However, we also have another picture here, this one, and this picture is huge. It is much, much, much larger than my screen. And you can see that when I zoom in and when I click here, you're going to see the original size. This is how large this picture is, right? So it is massive and there is a ton of details here. You can see the textures of the stones, you can see the water, you can see the palm trees. Everything is very sharp and there's a lot of detail. This image is 7,360 pixels wide and 4,912 pixels high. Now, obviously, both of these are extremes. We have a very small picture and we have a very large picture. Your question that you need to ask yourself is, where am I going to use my picture? Will it make sense to just have a very small picture, or should I go really, really large? I have a couple of websites open for you that we are going to look at now, and I'm going to explain to you some possible examples of where you could use an image. First of all, check out this gallery. You see in this gallery there's a whole bunch of thumbnails here. These thumbnails, when you click them, are obviously going to open the large version of the picture. And if you right click and you click on open image in new tab, you can actually see the full resolution, and this picture is 2000 pixels wide and 1313.5 pixels across. So if you want to display pictures in a gallery like this, perhaps 2000 pixels for the full picture is more than enough. I think even if somebody's looking at it on a 4K screen, it's still a fine size. And then for the thumbnails are only around 200 pixels across, so they're very small. Obviously, in this case, if you're thinking, how do I create my images or how do I generate my images? Most of the time when you create a gallery, you will have a software that creates the gallery for you. Like this, for instance, was created by a WordPress plugin, and it generates the thumbnails for you. So you only need to feed it the pictures that you have in the 2000 pixel resolution. So this is one example, an image gallery. Another example could be a blog post, like about this really cool video game from the 90s that you might have heard of, Day of the Tentacle. This blog post uses, the biggest picture that's here is only this, and I would guess this is just 1200 pixels across. It's not larger than that, and it doesn't need to be. You can't click on it and get a large version. For a blog post, this is more than enough. And if you scroll further down, you'll see that inside the text, inside the blog, there are some more screenshots from the game, and these are also relatively small pictures. So it is not necessary, if you write a blog post, for you to upload a massive big picture, because what your browser is going to do, it's going to downscale that picture so it fits into the blog post. So why don't you just give it a small picture to begin with, because your end user is otherwise going to have to load a massive big picture, and it's going to take time only for it to be downscaled. So this is some more examples where you can use pictures in a blog. You could also have pictures as the background of a website, like for instance this one I made for singer Melina Suchan. She has this beautiful picture in the background here, and if we scroll down on the front page, we're going to see that there's more pictures in the background, like this one up here, and then at the end there's another nice big portrait picture in the background. And this picture is originally at around 1800 to 1900 pixels, because we can afford it to be upscaled a little if there's a higher monitor, if there's a larger monitor, but we don't need it. We shouldn't have it much smaller than that, and we don't need it to be much larger than that. So think to yourself, where am I going to use that picture, and does it really have to be this large, or can I do it smaller? You might also want to use pictures on Facebook, like for instance as the header for a group that you open, or as the header for a page that you have on Facebook, or as the header for an event that you're running. And in this case, it's important that you don't use a picture that is, in terms of dimensions, too small. Because, for instance, if you try to upload that baby picture to a page, what's going to happen is that Facebook is going to upscale it, and it's going to look really, really blurry. You can see all these artifacts here. You see the pixelation, the blockiness, because this is originally a very small picture. And this is what happens when you upscale a small picture. It starts becoming blurry. You can see the edges, and all the detail gets lost because it's just not that large and the information is not there. So small pictures are the most dangerous thing for you to have, because if a picture is too small and you're forced to upscale it, it's going to look horrible and it's going to really hurt your brand. So make sure that you never use pictures that are too small. Now let's have a word about pictures, picture size, image size in terms of megabyte. Obviously, if I were to save this cute baby picture on my hard disk, and spoiler alert, I did, I'm going to see that this, because it's a very small picture in terms of dimensions, is also a very small picture in terms of megabytes. It's only 3 kilobytes, so it's a really, really, really small file, right? However, if we have a picture as large as this, right, with all those details, you could print that picture and put it on the front of your house and it would still look good, right? That picture is 18 megabytes, so it is a huge file. Now imagine somebody on a phone loading your website, and then this picture is included on your website. They're going to have to download 18 megabytes of data, which is going to take forever on a phone. Imagine I have a pretty quick internet connection, and I'm going to show you how long it takes for me to load this picture on my computer with a fast 20 megabit internet connection. You see, this is how long we need to wait. We're still waiting for the image. We're still waiting. It's still loading. Now the image is complete. That is way too long, and we don't want our visitors to have to go through that. In addition, if somebody is on a phone and they're loading this and they're downloading an 18 megabyte picture, that is going towards their data plan. And if they have only a few hundred megabytes of data, you just burned through 18 megabytes of data that they can afford to download off the internet each month. So don't do that. So these are the two things that we need to take into consideration when we want to put images on the internet. First of all, what is the image size? In terms of dimensions, in terms of pixels. Should we take something as small as only 300 pixels, or can we go with a larger picture? And secondly, what is the size of the image in megabytes, also known as the file size? Can we get the file really small, or should we go with a bigger file in order not to compromise quality? Generally, you will want to make sure, as I said earlier, that you want your pictures to be large enough in pixels to look sharp, but small enough in megabytes so they won't be a pain for your users to load. Now in the next video, I'm going to show you how to make sure that if you have a picture that is too large, how are we going to downscale it, and how are we going to save it as a JPEG file that is lighter and easier to handle online. I'm going to show you how to do this with two different softwares. The first is OrphanView, which is a free image viewer for Windows and is really, really convenient, extremely fast, and a wonderful software. And the second one is GIMP, which is more professional. It's basically like Photoshop, but it's a free alternative, and it gives you much more fine-grained control over resizing your images, but it might be overkill for your needs. So for now, this is it, and I thank you very much for watching, and we will talk very soon. Until then, be well, and thank you very much for watching. Bye.